Today I'm visiting 3 iconic South Dakota destinations that you absolutely need to add to your bucket list. Alright, so I'm officially in the Badlands National Park. I haven't been here in probably like 10 years, so I'm super excited to be back. Today we're going to start with the Notch Trail, which is one of the more popular trails, but we got here early enough, so I think it shouldn't be too busy. The Notch Trail is just 1.2 miles round trip with only 118 feet of elevation gain. A good chunk of that gain is actually on a ladder, which we will be to soon. Honestly, this ladder is probably the reason this hike is so popular, but it's pretty cool, so I can definitely see why people like it. Then the rest of the trail follows a path that looks a lot like this for the most part, and it leads you up to a pretty cool viewpoint. So I definitely recommend, if you're going to do the Notch Trail, to start it super early. It definitely gets busy, and then the ladder, a lot of people are going up and down it, so it kind of causes a traffic jam, and it's not really fun to wait in that. So after the Notch Trail, my plan was just to drive through the park along the Scenic Drive and stop at any other short trails I see that look cool. The first of which being the Cliff Shelf Nature Trail, which is just a quick half-mile loop. And now the last trail I stopped at is the Fossil Exhibit Trail. This one's cool though because it has all sorts of interpretive signs that teach you about the now extinct creatures that once inhabited this area. On the way out of the park, I made sure to stop at the White River Valley Overlook for that iconic Badlands view. But it's now time to head into town to stop at one of honestly the most infamous places in South Dakota. Alright, so now I am back at the most iconic place in the entire world, and I'm not going to show you until I get there. Okay, I am going to be totally honest with you though, Waldrug is kind of overwhelming. It's super busy and overstimulating, but there's just something about it that you have to stop there. Especially after seeing the hundreds of billboards leading up to it on the way here. All in all though, it's a great place to stretch your legs and use the bathroom, so it's definitely worth a stop. It's now the next day, and we are heading to one of the most famous Old West towns in all of the United States. So we're officially in Deadwood, South Dakota now. We're doing a hike around the Mount Moriah Cemetery. We're going to go into the cemetery soon, but we're starting with a little hike. This trail is just a little over 3 miles round trip with about 750 feet of elevation gain, most of which is the part that leads you up to the White Rocks Overlook. I'll leave the All Trails link in the description below of the hike that we're doing. It's really pretty, and from what I've gathered, it kind of goes up above Deadwood. We're on the part of the trail right now that goes up to White Rocks, and I won't lie to you, it is super steep. We came from like somewhere down there, and we're just kind of going straight up the mountain. I am also, unfortunately, wearing my Blundstones instead of my hiking boots, but we're getting there. The view from the top was so worth it though, and it overlooks the entire town, which was super cool to see. So something you should definitely do when visiting Deadwood, and it might sound weird, but visit the Mount Moriah Cemetery. So there's a lot of famous people here that are buried, like Wild Bill and Calamity Jane, among others, so we're going to go see that. So the most famous person buried here is Wild Bill, who was one of the most well-known figures of the Old West. He was a gunslinger, a lawman, and a professional gambler who was involved in many shootouts prior to relocating to Deadwood in 1876. He actually only got to spend a few short weeks living in Deadwood before he was shot while playing poker in Saloon No. 10. The original saloon did burn down in 1879, and so did much of the town. But this saloon sits right where the old one used to be and where he was shot, so that's where I visited. There is now a replica Saloon No. 10 down the street actually, but that one was incredibly busy the day I visited. So I ended up at this spot instead, but honestly, being in the spot where it actually happened felt a little cooler, I guess in a morbid sense. My time in South Dakota has been so much fun, but now it's time to head west. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel to follow along on all of my RV life adventures.